Why do I watch 40 movies? Probably because I want to make 40 movies myself as well. Am I new to movies and is this a challenge? Nope. Here's my top 4. Yeah, starting off January, I watched The Godfather Part 2. It's crazy how this movie took me 3 years to watch because I watched The Godfather Part 1 in 2023 and it took me 3 years, which is kind of fitting because the Godfather movies take 3 hours each. But I told myself this 2026 that I will be finishing the trilogy. And spoiler alert, yes, I did. I love this movie. 5 stars for me. I was expecting it to be slow and boring, but this was one of the most well paced movies ever. So, second movie I watched was Winter, Spring, Summer, or Fall. You know, there's this quote in Chainsaw Man where Denji says, I think bad movies should exist so that you can enjoy the good ones. So yeah, I'm taking that to heart. So there will be some good movies here and some questionable ones too. Killers of the Flower Moon. I know this was directed by Martin Scorsese, but yeah, I don't think I enjoyed this movie too much. This was the start of the year and I was telling myself I should make my attention span better because I've been using TikTok too much. So this is when I started watching long movies again to heal that overstimulated brain of mine. But yeah, Killers of the Flower Moon wasn't my favorite Martin Scorsese movie. But you know, it was okay. I rated it 4 stars, but I didn't love it. The Flash. The Flash. The Flash. I watched this in 2023 as well, but I wanted to rewatch it because I'm interested in the director Andy Muschietti if he's gonna do a good job in the Batman. And you know what? It's a hot take, but I love the Flash movie. Everyone else hates it because of Ezra Miller and the CGI, but it's a 4 star for me. Another superhero flick, Superman. I watched this in 2025, and I think I've watched it like 8 times already. At this point, it's just a classic for me, and I really love this movie. There was even a time when I told myself that I hated this movie because Twitter was saying all of this criticism, but I realized, you know what? I'm never gonna trust Twitter again. It ruins fun things for me, and Superman is something that's fun, and I really loved it. My Hero Academia, World Heroes Mission. I love My Hero Academia. Lots of people say it's cringe, but to be cringe is to be free. So I rated this like 5 stars and with a heart. I love MHA and I love the theme song. Every song in My Hero Academia is so good. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Maybe season 6 wasn't that good. The song, I meant the song. Next was Memories of Murder. I told myself that I'd watch movies in a sequence of good movie, bad movie, good movie, bad movie. But I realized that even good movies I can not enjoy. Maybe at this point I decided that I wouldn't watch bad movies on purpose because good well rated movies can also be bad for me as well. But yeah, I think I rated Memories of Murder a 4.5 stars. But I remember being dissatisfied with the movie when I was watching it. Probably because the guy who made Parasite made this, and I was like really in love with that movie. And Mickey 17 was a masterpiece for me. And you know, I had high expectations lang for it. Especially that this is something that I see on TikTok all the time. All the edits really hyped it up. But yeah, I still rated it high. I just didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. This one's kind of cheating. Skyscraper Live. It's when Alex Honnold climbed the Taipei 101 without any ropes, and it's real life. I don't think I think it counts. Like as long as it's in letterbox, it counts. And also, man, no one will replicate that moment. Like everyone was so scared of like if that guy would fall. But you know, he inspired me to do climbing as well with rope. Maybe without rope. I don't know. It's so cool. Alex Honnold is so cool. Next is The Handmaiden. I wanted to love this movie, but I rated this 2 stars. I was kind of disappointed. But to be fair, I knew about the plot twist and I watched the edits, so probably I already knew what I was getting into. But yeah, I really wanted to love this movie. Like, it still looks gorgeous, but I don't know. I felt like it was too long for me. I watched the extended cut, but yeah, some movies are for you, some movies are for me, and some movies are. The last movie in January is Dune. I rated this 3 stars, honestly, because it was well made, cinematography and sound design wise, but I was really bored. Honestly, it took me so long to finish this movie. I remember starting it like 2022, and I watched like 5 minutes a day. It just didn't entertain me as much. And I can appreciate the design, I can appreciate the cinematography. Greg Fraser is my favorite cinematographer, so there's that. But I don't know, man. This movie was just kind of boring. But in its defense, this movie is like a prologue. It's like the start of something. It's like an introduction. So, after the movie was finished, I could tell that, oh, something special is gonna happen. So all the boring parts in part one will be paid off in part two. And I was right about that. Spoiler alert. I love the month of February. February. I started the month with Unforgiven. I rated it 5 stars with a heart. It's about an old cowboy who's like retired from his violent past. And this young guy, he comes to him saying, "Hey, there's a bounty and we can win a lot of money." And he goes like, "I'm done with that life." But like in the end, he goes after the bounty again. It's kind of like a metaphor for addiction. And I really appreciated that because relapsing from addiction doesn't happen all in one night. It happens with small conscious decisions. It's a great film. Clint Eastwood, awesome. And this was the time that I was getting into westerns, which I'll explain why later. I rewatched Superman again in February. It just it's just my comfort movie. Yeah, I love the colors of this movie, everything about it, how blue it looks, how it looks like a comic book. David Cornsweet was my fan cast for Superman even before he was Superman. He was just so good in Hollywood. Next movie I watched in February was Wuthering Heights. This was a pretty cool movie for me because I watched it in the cinema. I watched it with friends, and the sound design was really good. Honestly, this movie gets a lot of hate because it doesn't follow the book properly, and I get that. But at the same time, I was also expecting it to be not entertaining because all of the reviews were saying it was bad. So I guess it kind of made this effect where I expected it to be so bad that I really enjoyed it. Honestly, this movie is really funny because it's like a period drama film, and a lot of times you take it seriously, but then whenever there's like kissing scenes, suddenly Charlie XCX would play, and you would be like, "Oh wait, this is taking me out of the immersion." But you know what? I love Charlie XCX Wuthering Heights album. It's actually my favorite album right now. So there's that. It just doesn't match the movie, but I really love it. Like, listen to it. It's really good. Next one I watched was A Fistful of Dollars. Listen guys, I'm watching these movies very intentionally. Like I really picked them. Yeah, I've watched a lot of movies in the past, but right now I'm really watching movies to study them. And A Fistful of Dollars is one of those movies where I'm really studying it because the filmmaking in old westerns is really iconic. And actually, I'm making a spaghetti western inspired movie, which is called Outlaws ng QC, and it's gonna come out soon in this YouTube channel. But yeah, I'm watching the Dollars trilogy, Clint Eastwood cowboy movies, to practice filmmaking in that regard. I wanna capture the same vibe it gives off, and something about cowboys, man. I really love cowboys fashion. Cowboy boots, cowboy hat, jeans. I love jeans. Can I imagine how a great inspiration for a stylist watching movies? Because like, dude, you watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and you can get like 5 good outfits from that movie. It's something about it. It's just so cool. It's so movie star like. It helps you to stand out from the usual Pinterest board outfits. I didn't really enjoy A Fistful of Dollars too much. I watched it to study it, but yeah, I watched the sequel immediately after for a few dollars more. This one I really loved. I don't know what it was about the first movie that I didn't love that much, but this sequel, I think it might be my favorite in the trilogy. Something about it was just so badass. Like everyone was just being so cool. Everyone was Clint Eastwood was just aura forming, and Angel Eyes, he was just like I love this movie. Yeah. Next, Frankenstein. I think Jacob Elordi could be a great Batman. Not gonna lie. Like, it's not just because he has a deep voice, but like he's really good. Like, he has that aura. I love this movie a lot. It had a great story, and I love the ending. It was really hopeful. It was about like forgiveness, and I think we should all have that in our hearts. Forgiveness. At some points in this movie, though, I felt like it looked so much like Wicked, and The Wicked movies, I don't really know if I appreciate the cinematography as much. It looks so green screen, but some shots of this film, especially the wood scenes, the scenes in the forest, were so freaking gorgeous. And that's why I rated it 4 stars. Hihintayin Kita sa Langit, which is I Will Wait for You in Heaven. Hihintayin Kita sa Langit is a Filipino adaptation of Wuthering Heights. After watching Wuthering Heights, I really love that movie. But everywhere on Twitter, they're like saying, "Oh, don't watch this movie. Watch Hihintayin Kita sa Langit. It's the better option." And you know what? Hihintayin Kita sa Langit is a much more serious version of Wuthering Heights. But I wouldn't say it's more entertaining, not gonna lie. My dad watches in the cinema, so he would tell me before I watched the film how this movie really got him crying and like it was really good. So I had really high expectations. But you know what was pretty good? The actors were so good in acting. They were like so like really cool. Filipino actors were just so much better back then, I think. The next movie I watched was When Harry Met Sally. I watched this movie in a pretty cool place. It was like a place where they played movies in a big projector screen. And man, they played this movie in 4K. It was so good. I give it a 4 stars because of its ending. It was really good. But romance isn't really for me. I really love romance when it's part of the plot of a story. But I don't love it when it's the center of the story. So yeah, it was really good. I could appreciate it for what it was. The next movie I watched in the same place was The Way We Were. Dude, I know this movie is a romance movie, but it was also a political film. So I really loved how this movie was shot. I searched it up after watching it in 4K, and I saw on YouTube that it was really low definition. So I was even more grateful that I watched this in such high quality. But yeah, the music and the score was really good. To me, this movie taught me how to choose your partner really wisely, because you can have all the chemistry in the world with your partner. You could have all the best kissing scenes with your partner. But if you guys don't have the same values and viewpoints in life, it can be hard. And most of the time, in my experience, it doesn't work out. The next movie I watched was Oo Na Mahal Na Kung Mahal, which comes from the Filipino song Wag Mo Na Sana. It's funny because they played the actual song in the movie, and I was like, oh, of course. Man, I watched this movie because I wanted to get more into Filipino cinema. And something about this movie was just so relatable. This movie is about three high schoolers who made a dare to go out with three girls. And it was such a high school thing, but it was so relatable. I didn't do that. Like, I didn't do what they did, but I meant the way this movie portrays high school life was like really fun, but it also highlights a struggle that toxic Filipino families go through, and that's relying on your kid to take care of you financially. So, that's an ongoing thing here in my country, and it's really important that we shed light on it. But one thing I didn't like about this movie was how it glorified having kabit. This movie kind of romanticizes having mistresses and how it's okay to have a mistress as long as you love each other, and like I could say that there could be a good study of why cheating in the Philippines is so rampant, because we have movies that often romanticize it. The last movie I watched in February was in the cinemas. I really love this one. This one was with my brother. It's called Iron Lung. Why did I love this movie? It was made by Markiplier, a YouTuber guy, and it was just really inspiring because he said, "You know what? I want to make a movie." And he did. And that was just so inspiring because, chase your dreams. This movie wasn't even high budget. I think it was low budget. And I heard that Markiplier had to fire his VFX team and had to do a lot of his own VFX stuff in his bathroom. That wasn't exactly what this movie is really inspiring for filmmakers like me, because in this day and age when Marvel movies come out every year and they feel very corporate, they feel like they follow a formula, it's nice to hear a filmmaker's voice, even when it's really imperfect. Because, gosh, there's like a lot of audio problems with this movie, but it made it so relatable. Because like I also experience audio problems in my movies, in my own short films too. So maybe it's really the short film curse to have audio problems. Iron Lung is about the world ending suddenly. A lot of planets and stars disappeared, and those humans who are left in space are looking for a way to live or something. And Markiplier, a prisoner, is sent on punishment to explore this blood moon or like this blood planet where he has to like look for things. And he's just trapped in this one box. And the box literally feels so suffocating. The entire movie, it was so claustrophobic, but yeah, good job. Starting off, March. I started March off with The Godfather Part 3. Yeah, it was pretty good in my opinion. Actually, I think I enjoyed all Godfather movies. Everyone online was saying that The Godfather Part 3 would be really bad compared to Part 1 and 2. But you know what? I really enjoyed it and I don't get the hate. I also found out that the actress of the daughter of Al Pacino's character is Sofia Coppola, which is also a filmmaker, and I'm actually watching her movie Lost in Translation right now. I'm actually just taking a break to film this video. Next movie is Inglourious Bastards. This is a Quentin Tarantino film, and I love Quentin Tarantino and his filmmaking style. It's just so crazy and fun, and I want to make my own identity in film just like him. Inglourious Bastards, in a short sentence, is about killing Nazis. Yeah, this film is very violent, and sometimes I do get affected by the violence. But as a whole, this film was like really fun. So there's that. I feel like the world of Quentin Tarantino is just violent in general. I don't know what goes in the mind of Quentin Tarantino, but he has some violent thoughts. Next movie I watched was a recommendation from a friend, Memoirs of a Geisha. Dude, this movie was so cool for me. I think this and Parasite are so similar in the way that the filmmaking is just kind of flawless. Like the transitions, everything. The movie is about memories of a geisha during the old Japanese times and how hard it is to become a geisha and how hard it is to actually be a woman as well. Because the world is deeply misogynistic. I rated this movie a 5 stars. I honestly thought it was a perfect movie, and then I logged it into Letterboxd only to find that everyone hated this movie because there were Chinese actors playing Japanese actors, and you know what? I could get the hate, but nah, it wasn't enough for me to hate it. I rarely ever hate a movie. I used to be so highly critical of movies, and I would always judge every small mistake a director would make until I made my own movies, and I realized how filmmaking is hard to do. And sometimes when you watch a film, what you want to happen isn't exactly what the director wants to happen, and everyone has their own artistic vision. So that's the reason why I don't have any 1 star review on Letterboxd. Maybe there's some like Made in Malacanang, but that's it. The next movie I watched was Dune Part 2. I said earlier that I was really bored of Dune 1, but I love Dune 2 so much. Every minute of feeling bored in Dune 1 was paid off really well when I watched Dune Part 2 because that movie was so freaking cinematic. And the sound design was so cool. Like, I was listening with earphones on. The movie's floor was vibrating. I felt myself vibrating too. The next movie I watched was Blade Runner 2049. I love this movie so much. I actually watched this in 2023 and I remember being so bored as well. But I don't know, at this point my overstimulated brain was healing and my attention span was elongating. So everything about this movie was really nice. I just told myself to love the experience, like feel in the moment with this film. And that's it. This movie is just such a vibe. I realized that this movie wasn't really about the plot. It was never really about that. It was about feeling the plot, feeling the characters' emotions. It's kind of like this film is about loneliness. This film looks so beautiful. I really love cyberpunk worlds, and I love how cool it looked, all the lights and the aesthetic of it. I could feel the main character Kay striving for something genuine with her AI girlfriend. It's also very tough how this movie was kind of like about finding out that, oh, you're not as special as you think you are. Like, you're just like everyone else. So yeah, this movie has some dread, but it's stylistic dread, and It's artistic and I love it. And it looks so good. This movie looks so good. I love films that look beautiful, by the way. If you have a film with a bad story but it looks beautiful, it's instantly 3 stars already for me. Like, it can't go below that. But yeah, I rated this movie a 5 star, and it actually stayed on my top four for a while until it was replaced by another film, which I'll talk about later. Next movie I watched was Project Hail Mary. I watched this in the cinema, and I recall being really excited because I love the Lego movie, and the guy who directed it is directing this movie. And yeah, I really love Project Hail Mary because I watched it with my brother. I watched it, also really nice cinema. At this point, I told myself that this year I would watch more movies in the cinema, and I have. Like, honestly, at this point, I'm so used to the cinema house na that I know my favorite seat number. It's K7, by the way, and like, it feels familiar na. So parang before, when I go to a movie, it's so occasional lang that I feel like when I go to a movie, it's like some place that's foreign to me. But now, the movies feel like my home. So yeah, this movie was fun. It looked visually good. It's not my favorite movie though. Like, it's definitely a little highly praised in my opinion, but it deserves the praise, especially if you're a space fan. But if you're not too much into space, you could think that, oh, this movie is a little more for the NASA fans. And if you're not a NASA fan, it's valid to not enjoy this movie as much. But it's visually striking, so I gave it 4 stars. Next movie I watched was Marty Supreme. I think this might be one of my favorite movies this year. Honestly, this movie was just so fun. I was expecting something to be like boring, but nah, every A24 movie that I watched, I really enjoyed so far. And I feel like Timothy Chalamet really poured his heart into this role. It was just so chaotically funny. Like, so much bad stuff was happening, but you think it's just so absurd. That's what this movie is. It's just so absurd. There's so much stuff going on. But yeah, I love Marty Supreme so much that it made me play ping pong with my friend. And I think that's what a good movie does. It influences you to do something or change your perspective on something. Good movies do that. That's why I love films. Films change us, films inspire us to become something that we want to be. That kind of effect is why we should go to the cinemas and support our film industry. Next movie I watched was Five Nights at Freddy's 2. I was expecting this to be a shit show, but I love Five Nights at Freddy's 1, the movie. So come on, like, I knew that I would love Five Nights at Freddy's 2 because honestly, this movie is a video game adaptation. And when you have a video game adaptation, you can never please anyone. So you know what? Why don't you just do what you want? And I feel like the movie director did what you wanted. It was really fun, It, it was made for kids. And I think the kid in me enjoyed it. I love Five Nights at Freddy's when I was a kid, and I still do now. Yeah, when you learn to separate the game from the movie and realize that it's its own thing, that's when you enjoy it. Because, like, if you want a one-to-one adaptation of the game in a movie, just play the game. I was there in the movie to enjoy something new. I wanted to be surprised. I wanted to enjoy something that I wasn't already familiar with. And you know what? The movie also did pay homage to the game a lot of times. We even played our favorite Five Nights at Freddy's 2 song. So I think this movie had the similarities it needed and also enough changes to make it a new experience. And I appreciate that. Think of it this way: if you love the game, then you have one cake. Would you want another cake that's exactly the same as that cake? Probably, yeah, but at least you have another good cake. You got an ube cake and you've got a chocolate cake. Those are good cakes. Next movie I watched was Lady Bird. I loved how it portrayed a Catholic school in actually not even a bad light. I noticed that Hollywood tends to portray Christianity and Catholicism Catholicism in a very bad way all the time. So, I appreciate this movie. It's pretty fresh to see that. I love seeing the story of Lady Bird and her mother bond and heal in a way. And it's also realistic that they didn't solve all problems in the end. I really like how this movie looked. And I finally found out where that trending TikTok audio came from. It came from this movie, and this movie sounded good. And it looked good too. Greta Gerwig, thank you. My friend was the one that recommended me this movie after not liking Barbie that much. I was like, man, I don't know if I want to watch a Greta Gerwig movie. I don't know if I'll enjoy it. But she was like, no, you will. Just watch it. So yeah, I appreciated it. And the last movie I watched this March was The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I watched this solely again for studying cowboy movies because I am making a cowboy movie. But then in the end, I really enjoyed it. Like I rated it 4.5 stars. Throughout the movie, I was having a hard time to enjoy it, but by the end, that end was so good. So yeah, it deserves my rating, and I really love it. And I think I'll carry cowboy filmmaking techniques even after I finish my cowboy film because something about westerns is just so cool and iconic, and I want to translate that into my work, even if it has no relation to cowboys. Like, I swear, capture this. If you see me in the future and I'm already a successful filmmaker, you'll see my characters wear cowboy boots. You'll see camera angles that came from Western movies. Western movies are a part of me now. April, oh my days, this video is getting so long. Please, just get to the 14th movie already. Chunking Express. This is actually a new addition to my top 4 in Letterboxd. Yes, it dethroned Blade Runner 2's 2004-09 because this movie is so stylistic. I love how Wong Kar-wai made this movie on such a low budget and he made it on such a short time, like 26 days. And it was so inspiring to hear that they filmed this in his cinematographer's house. It's just so relatable, but there's something about it that's so unique. I love how Wong Kar-wai portrays time in his movies, and this movie has such good music as well. My ears have been thanking me for listening to the recommendations of Wong Kar-wai. Thank you, Wong Kar-wai. If you haven't watched a single Wong Kar-wai movie, this should be the first. And why is that? Well, in my opinion, it's the best. And you know what? It's funny because this movie was supposed to just be a transitional movie from one big budget movie to another, but he was like, okay, I'm just gonna make a movie that's kind of low budget and I don't expect it to do that well, but nope. Chunky Express, you will forever be awesome and iconic. The next movie I watched was In the Mood for Love. Dude, this movie is the definition of perfect. Again, Wong Kar-wai is so awesome in his filmmaking techniques. You know, I've adapted his filmmaking techniques, especially the slow shutter speed where everyone's like like that, and there's like voiceovers. Yeah, that's part of my style now. Something about it is just so awesome, and so cool, and the thing is, it's easy to do as well. And you know, even if you do it, it does not feel cheap. And yeah, all of his movies are always centering certain characters, and you are really trapped in their mind, and that's something that's so unique. You know, most movies focus on the plot, but I see Wong Kar-wai movies to be like Japanese literature. Japanese literature most of the time doesn't really have any plot, and most of the story revolves around a character and their brain, how they evolve through time, how what do they learn. It's just so psychological and it's so interpersonal, and it's so unique. I love it. Most people would find that boring, but to me, I don't think any Wong Kar-wai movie is boring, except maybe Days of Being Wild. Next movie I watched was Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. You know, I've always made films and shorts, and I noticed that I've had a style that was quite similar to Scott Pilgrim's editing style. But it's only now that I watched Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and you know, it's funny because when you watch Netflix shows, you kind of notice that they've adapted the Scott Pilgrim editing style. And it's funny because I didn't even know that that's where they got it from. Next movie I watched was As Years Go By. This was Wong Kar-wai's debut film. It was his first ever film, and you know what? Maybe a hot take, but I think it might actually be his best film, or maybe his most entertaining film at least. I just said a while ago that Wong Kar-wai films are mostly character driven. Most of the time there isn't really a plot, but As Years Go By is kind of like a Martin Scorsese movie. It's a kind of like a gangster movie, you know. Lots of things are happening. It's energetic, it's wild, it's in the busy streets of Hong Kong, and I love it so much. That being said, though, you could tell that Wong Kar-wai was still figuring out his style, and he hadn't figured it all out by this time yet. But it was such a good film and better than so many films nowadays. I don't even see it as a debut film. It's just a great film for me. But Wong Kar-wai, watch out. I hated the animal abuse scenes, and there's no way you can convince me that the animal abuse scenes were fake because literally, come on, just come on, Wong Kar-wai, come on. The next film I watched was on YouTube. It was just a super short film. It's called Live a Little, and the title says it all. It's some kind of inspiring message about Live your life. You only have one life. And you know what? The director himself noticed my comment. I was like, dang, that was short and sweet. And he liked it. Awesome. Next film I watched was Stand By Me. This movie gets a lot of good reviews in Letterboxd and a lot of good reviews online as well. And it looks visually good. Made by the same guy who made When Harry Met Sally, but I don't know, something about this movie just didn't really stick with me. I was kind of rage baited a lot by the kids. But then again, they're kids. And I was a kid once too. I still am. And you are too. You're still that kid that had dreams and curiosity of the world. Go back to your dreams. The kid in you is waiting for that moment that you will pick up that pen, or you'll pick up that camera, or you'll pick up that astronaut helmet and go off to space. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. The next movie I watched or rewatched was Sinners. Now, this one was kind of special for me because the first time I watched this was on an IMAX screen, and that was the first time I ever watched on IMAX. But when I first watched the film, I was really disappointed because, I'm a Christian, and I felt really hurt by the message of it being not really pro Christian. And I guess it's something that I struggled with for a while because everyone online loves this movie. All of my friends love this movie. But I was kind of the only one who was bothered by the message. But then again, I think everyone should watch films that they don't necessarily agree with. Because one thing I can guarantee you is that the more you watch films, the more sympathetic you become as a person. Watching films puts you in a person's shoes. So when I rewatched Sinners this year, I viewed it in a way that I was trying to understand what the filmmaker was trying to say. It's true that while Christians do their best to become like Jesus, who's ultimately loving, we oftentimes fail and become judgmental. And that judgment oftentimes pushes those who are lost away. It's an important message to Christians as well. When you have a loved one that's drowning, you don't lecture them on how to swim. You be compassionate. So my rewatch of Sinners was 4.5, and I really love everything about the cinematography and all. Yes, there are a lot of things about this movie that I disagree with, but that's the point of film. It's to start conversations and it's to help understand one another. Next movie I watched was The Housemaid. Brandon Sklenar has been on my Twitter page for quite a while. And I guess it's because he's kind of secretly advocating to be Batman. And I saw the pictures before and I was like, he looks more like Harvey Dent. But after watching The Housemaid, okay, Brandon Sklenar, maybe you can be Batman. Maybe you can be Bruce Wayne. You too can be Batman. But Robert Pattinson, still the best.